Excited to be bringing you direct information from admissions officers from some of the world's top business schools.
We at HBS have been around for over 100 years, and many things have changed, but one thing has remained the same, and that is we educate leaders who make a difference in the world.
Morning, afternoon, evening, from whatever part of the world you are joining from. Hello, Gmat community.
It's about curiosity is how I've seen it, is you have all these opportunities and different viewpoints and perspectives that come with the MBA program, not only from professors and faculty, but also from classmates as well, because we all have experience that we're coming with.
I think the virtual recruitment experience has really expanded some of these possibilities. We're going to have even more recruiters kind of connected to our community, maybe than we had previously.
Good luck. It's going to be great. The MBA is such a fantastic experience. Choose the school that's the best fit for you, but also you want to be joining a community that you're proud to be part of. Good luck with your search, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. My name is Debbie Choy. I'm really happy to have everybody join us. I think we have probably folks joining us from all over the world. So this is part one of a three-part series on the Stanford Gsb. Today we're going to talk all about all you need to know about the Gsb. And then next week, we're going to talk about how you can put together a stand-up Gsb application. And then the week after that, we're going to talk about how to ace the Gsb interview. So very excited to have everybody here. I hope everybody is staying safe wherever you are. And I have a brief presentation to go walk us through some of the information. And then after that, we'll take a Q&A. We'll do questions and answers, okay? So, great. I'm going to share my slide. All right. Just to check, can everybody see my slide? Okay, perfect. Great. I'm going to dive right in, and you can, just in terms of quick logistics, you can put in comments, and I'll get to, if you have questions, I'll get to your questions when we open it up for Q&A. So feel free to jump in anytime, okay? If any of you can't hear me, logistical problems, also, put in comments, etc., and we'll figure it out. Okay. Hey, so a little bit of background about myself. My name is Debbie Choy. I am a managing director at mbaMission. I grew up in Singapore and pretty much lived there until I was 16, 17 or so. Went to college in the US and attended a liberal arts college in upstate New York. I majored in international studies, minored in econ. So if there are some of you folks who are wondering, do all MBAs have to have a business undergrad or a business degree or a background? The answer is no. You can absolutely come from STEM majors. You can come from liberal arts majors. So they are looking for diversity. They're looking for people to come from all sorts of background. Before the Gsb, I'm a Gsb alum. Before the Gsb, my work experience was in JP Morgan. Worked on the investment management side, which is the managing money for institutional portfoliows. And then I also, after a couple of years there, I switched to management consulting. And then post MBA, I worked in product management in health tech. So I worked for both large Fortune 500 companies as well as startups. Had a great experience. I was really managing products, kind of covering the whole of the US and also part of Europe, and came into admissions consulting because I wanted a job that was a little bit more flexible, less travel, at the same time would allow me to use my business background, and I love writing, as well as so a little bit of combination of business and writing. And I've been with mbaMission for 8 years. I've loved every minute. I really love working with my clients, getting to know them and their stories. I work with clients from all over the world, and it's really fascinating just getting to know them and what they do. So that's a little bit about me. And today we are going to cover these topics. We're going to, first of all, give you a quick overview of the Gsb Mba program. We're going to home in on academics and the learning experience that you could expect at the Gsb. We're going to talk also about career opportunities, as well as cover the alumni network, the strengths and weaknesses of the Stanford Alumni Network. And then we're going to open it up for your questions. Okay, so diving in to giving you a quick overview of the Stanford Gsb program. It is, first of all, it's located in Palo Alto, California. It's about an hour by car, 35 minutes south of San Francisco. There are trains that tie Palo Alto to San Francisco, so it's super convenient, very easy to get between these two cities. Palo Alto is really kind of a smaller city than San Francisco. Most students, they do live on campus or in Palo Alto itself because the daily commute can get pretty tough, especially if you're staying late for study groups and things like that. There are two main residences for Stanford MBA students on campus. Schwab, which is a residence that was built, I think, in the 80s, and that was where I lived when I was a first-year MBA at Stanford. And they recently opened another residence, called the Jack McDonald Hall. So these two residences are beautifully designed, really comfortable, and you're really gonna live with, I think, 80% of the first year of your class, essentially, if you live on campus. So they do assure that whoever wants to live in these residences do have the opportunity to do that. So I think, not to worry about housing, etc. At least for your first year, most first-year students should have an opportunity to live in either one of these residences. In the event that you come into this process really late, Stanford also has graduate student housing at Escondido Village. It's very close to the campus. It's 10-15-minute walk to the Knight Center, which is where most of the main classes are held. So it's really not too far away. A lot of people bike. So biking around the campus, which is huge, is a really popular way of getting around. Walking or biking. Parking is not great. There's limited parking on campus and a lot of different restrictions, parking for staff, parking for students. So usually just to get around day to day for classes and things like that, you walk, you bike. Walking is great. I loved walking to class in the mornings and, with my classmates, you chat, you just, talking about kind of that running into people in the hallways and just, having the synergies and the idea exchanges, right? So that's the Stanford Gsb with their housing really tries to encourage that. In the second year, most people would then live off campus. And they would, have a group of, form a group of 4 or 5 people or even more, rent a house off campus in Palo Alto. And that's typically what second year students do. You do end up having a lot of nice, fun social events, small group dinners at people's houses. Certainly parties, and so a lot of socializing, a lot of opportunities to experience Palo Alto as well. The class size is around 400 to 500 students per class, and actually, as we will see in this summary of the Gsb class profile, the number of students has actually grown. So if you look at the very right-hand column, class of 2011, the second row, number of students, 370, has actually grown to, most recently, class of 2021, 417. The number of students who apply typically goes, falls somewhere between, 60, here we have the numbers, 6,600 to, I think at the highest in this table, at least 8,200. So the number seems to be fairly stable in terms of the number of people who apply, but certainly over the years, they have, my guess is they have seen just the caliber of applicants, keep going up and up, and really make that conscious decision to slowly increase their class size, which is fantastic. So now it looks like the most recent numbers are around 417 for the class of 2021. Another thing that you would notice from this table that has crept up over the years is, of course, the average Gmat score. In 2011, the class of 2011, the average Gmat score was 730, and it has very slowly crept up to 734 for the class of 2021. You do see that apart from the average Gmat score creeping up over the years, the range has also seems to have tightened up a little bit. So in 2011, it used to be anywhere between 540 to 800. And now for the class of 2021, it looks like the floor has crept up to 600 to 790. So something to keep in mind if you don't have, you're not hitting that 730 average Gmat score, don't be disheartened. Certainly, if you look at the Gmat range, they do accept candidates within 600 to 790 within that range, but certainly, to be competitive at a very selective school like Stanford, the closer that you can get to the 730 mark, the higher your chances. The other thing that has crept up a little bit, although that could be, a slight margin of error, is the average years of experience. So 3.9 for the class of 2011. And then most recently in 2021 is around 4.6. I would not say that they're now requiring more years of experience. I would say that's probably more of a function of if you look at the years between the class of 2015 to 2020, it's pretty stable at around 4 years of experience, and this is when they enter business school. So typically, I think 4 years of experience when you enter is a really good average year tenure for the GSB. And then, of course, you can take a look at the other stats yourself as well. And this table can be found in our insider guide for Stanford, which you can download for free on the mbaMission, the resources page. So take a quick look at that. And then, of course, it has a lot more information, in-depth information about the Stanford program as well. So let's dive in a little bit deeper into the academics and learning experience at Stanford. So the good news is at the Stanford GSB, the curriculum can be personalized, and they really do encourage that. Let me just cover kind of the structure of the system, and then we'll dive into how you can tailor your curriculum according to what your goals are and what your interests are. So first of all, it's a quarter system. That means that the year is divided into 4 quarters, around 3 months each. You go to school for the autumn, winter, and spring quarters, and then for the summer quarter, you are, of course, doing summer internships or having a break. In the first year, there are some required classes that they want everybody to take. In the autumn quarter, you would take 8 courses and that's what they call the general management perspectives. So you would take 8 courses in that. Now, in the winter and spring quarters, you would take 11 courses, and they call that the general management foundations. So at the end of the first year, everybody would have taken all of these core courses, and then Also in the first year, everybody is required to take an experiential leadership labs course. And that's partly led by second year Arbuckle Leadership Fellows. If you are interested in becoming a Arbuckle Leadership Fellow, you would apply in your first year at close to the end of your first year. And then you would undergo training on coaching, mentoring, and helping to run these labs in your second year. In your second year, you have a fantastic opportunity to take electives. So you can take up to 18 electives. You would also be taking a series of seminars, 2-week seminars that they call compressed courses. So there are a lot of opportunities within the GSB curriculum to really tailor your learning and your education to your career goals beyond the core. They want you to at least walk out of there with core business and leadership skills and knowledge in your first year. And then beyond that, you have a lot of opportunity to tailor it and take electives. The way that the GSB teaches its classes is there's a mixture of lectures and case studies. And then they also use a lot of seminars, small group seminars, or a lot of study groups for most every class that I've taken at the GSB. There are study groups where you get together and you work on projects together. So a lot of teamwork, a lot of leadership opportunities. Within the BAS seminars, they didn't have that when I was there, but these BAS seminars are very popular. They are very much student designed, and the topics could be anything that you're personally interested in. So some of the past topics have included analysis and valuation for event-driven investing, design for extreme affordability. So, they really encourage the students to be creative and really come up with the ideas for the seminars that they want to do. Okay. So let's talk about career opportunities at the GSB. Now, I pulled some data from the latest employment reports, and you can certainly look it up online and get more details. This is for the class of 2020. So the class that just graduated in the summer of 2020, very difficult year to graduate, of course. But if you look at the statistics, 91% had job offers by 3 months post-graduation, which is very similar to the data that they had for the previous few years. And also 85% had accepted job offers by 3 months post-graduation. So the really positive news is that despite the pandemic, the job offers were still rolling in. People were graduating with job offers. And then if you look at the median base salary, it was $156,000. And this includes, U.S. People working in the U.S. As well as people working internationally as well. The mean base salary was $160,000 US. So the salary again was also very comparable to previous years. Don't see a huge hit there as well. The one area where I think they saw some differences was the percent of people who started new ventures. So Stanford, of course, is very well known for its entrepreneurship program, its ties to Silicon Valley, and so on. And for the class of 2020, 18% launched new ventures. And that was actually equivalent to a previous all-time high for the class of 2013, when around also 18% launched new ventures. So that was very interesting, very surprising, and certainly I think the pandemic disrupted a lot of things, made people see things differently or think about their career or future slightly differently, right? So that could be part of the reason that a lot of GSB grads last year chose to launch new ventures. So what are the top industries that hire GSB grads? And you might wonder, gosh, if only 18% of graduates were launching new ventures. What were the rest of the folks doing? So here we have a table that shows over the years the top industries that hire GSB grads. So if you start from the right-hand column in 2019, you can see that finance hired about 28% of GSB grads, tech companies hired about 12%, consulting firms hired about 32%, healthcare hired about 7%. And then not a ton in transportation and logistics. So transportation and logistics, if you think back in 2009, was probably, Tesla was still, probably still early, right? All the EV companies, EV cars still very early on, probably not hiring a lot of MBAs at that time. Now, fast forward to 2019. The percentage of people that went into finance went up to 33%. And technology also started hiring a lot of MBAs, right? Huge companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook. So it went from 12% in 2009 to 24% in 2019. Consulting dropped a little bit, it looks like. So my guess is people that would previously have gone to work for McKinsey, Bain, or BCG went instead to work for Amazon or Facebook. So that's the interesting part. Now, healthcare was more or less stable over the years, 6-7% or so. My expectation is that in the and I didn't specifically look at the 2020 employment report, but my expectation is healthcare is going to probably start creeping up a little bit, just given that the pandemic just really highlighted a lot of inefficiencies as well as opportunities in healthcare. So hopefully we'll see more MBA grads going into healthcare, doing good there. Transportation and logistics also went up. 4%, to what I spoke about just now for a lot of these clean tech transportation companies. Career resources at the GSB are fantastic. You have, of course, the hub, the Career Management Center. We call it the CMC. You have private counseling sessions with career coaches. You have they will do interview prep with you. They will suggest industries or companies for you to look at. They are privy to a lot of the job postings that come in through the job board. Or even upcoming job postings as well. So really fantastic resource in the CMC. Now, for folks who are interested in doing their own thing, the Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, CES, is also very plugged in to the entrepreneur network, especially in the Silicon Valley, as well as the investor network. So you can get private counseling sessions with successful entrepreneurs and investors. They run a lot of workshops, a lot of networking events as well. Also, not to forget, you have a ton of student-run clubs that are, don't forget your classmates have a ton of connections from the pre-MBA life. I was a co-president of the Gsb Finance Club, and I remember we would organize dinners with finance folks, alums. We would organize treks where we go out to different finance companies and do an hour sit down with a senior executive at that company, talk about how they run the company, what are they looking for, career opportunities there. So a ton of opportunities in the student-run clubs as well. A lot of resources there. And of course, that ties in to the alumni network at the GSB. Some of you may or may not know that there are a lot of companies that were started by GSB alums. Nike, of course, is a big one. Phil Knight, and of course, he donated a lot of money to build the Knight Management Building, which houses the new classroom. Really fantastic facilities. You're going to have most of your classes there. Charles Schwab, of course, and donated money to build the Schwab Residential Center. And then I have a few of my classmates here, Trulia. So this was a real estate company. You may know it. It got bought or merged with Zillow a few years ago, started by two of my classmates, class of 2005. And then OkCupid as well, the dating company. I think it got bought by Match.com, also started by a couple of my classmates. And then you have Kiva as well, which is a micro-lending social organization started by a Gsb alum. So you have really, across different industries in finance, in consumer products, in real estate, in consumer dating, in social enterprises. So these are just a sampling of the companies started by Gsb alum. Now, for us, the mere mortals, the rest of the alumni network is also pretty strong. We have over 30,000 living alumni across the world, 19,500 MBAs, and then we also have PhD graduates, the MSX program, which is a one-year program tailored for mid-level professionals. We also have a lot of alums in the executive education programs. So over 11,000 PhDs, MSX, executive education alums across the world as well. In terms of geography, a lot of alums do fall in love with the Bay Area. Great weather, lots of opportunities here for your career. So we do see that about 25% of Gsb grads do stay in the San Francisco Bay Area, and then 39% across the rest of the US, and then the rest would be internationally. We have 27 US chapters of the Alumni Club and 44 international chapters as well. And I would say that even though there are not that many of us across the globe, for example, the alumni network is very strong. When I found out that I was accepted into the Gsb, and I was in Singapore at that time, I had a couple of alums in Singapore reach out to me right away, met for lunch with one of the Gsb alums in Singapore, and it was just a really deep, tight-knit network. And of course, there are lots of special interest and affiliation groups as well within the alumni network. For example, Gsb Pride for LGBTQ alums, Asian alumni chapter, the Gsb Black alumni chapter, and many others. Okay, so that's kind of scratching a little bit of the surface for to introduce you to the Gsb program. I covered a lot of things, and I'm sure that there are plenty of questions on your mind. So I'll open it up. Actually, before I open it up to Q&A, let me just quickly let you know about more resources that you can find on our firm website. And of course, this is a quick blurb about mbaMission. We are very established, one of the highest rated firms on the Gsb Club. And you can see a lot of reviews from real clients. These are verified reviews. And we have a ton of resources that you can access for free on our website. A lot of insider guides. I alluded to a lot of these tables that you see today coming from the Stanford Insider Guide. And there's more information there as well. Interview primers, career primers. So a ton of information there. Okay, and of course, you can also get a lot of information about the services we offer as well online. So just do check out our team page. We have short introductory videos from each of our consultants, as well as a brief bio. So that will tell you a little bit more about the person that you can be matched up with to work with if you're so inclined. Okay, so I will actually open it up to questions, and I'm looking at the comments tab, and I'm going to start from the very top. So try to scroll up here. Okay. So I see a question that says, would I get rejected with a work experience of 2.5 years? The short answer is no. These schools are not looking at just the exact length of work experience. They're looking for the quality of your work experience. So there's a phrase in the US that says punching above your weight. So if you only have 2.5 years of experience, but you are performing at a very high level, in fact, you're performing at a similar level as a peer who has more years of work experience as you, that would be definitely very attractive to the GSB. I would say, don't let the number deter you. It's really about what you're doing, what your achievements are, what your role is, and are you making an impact at your firm, at your work. Okay. Second question. If somebody has a 2.5 GPA but a 780 Gmat and great work experience, does that person still have a chance at Stanford, or should they not even apply? That's a good question. And I think that the good news is your Gmat score does show that you are academically capable of keeping up with your classmates in the GSB program. Now, of course, a 2.5 GPA, if there were any circumstances that affected your GPA, I would consider writing that in the optional essay to explain your side of the story, to explain, what happened, what situations or what circumstances affected your GPA, and then certainly point to your Gmat score as an indication that you are academically strong and capable of doing the coursework. So I don't think that a 2.5 GPA should deter you from applying. The fact that you have a very strong Gmat score, that is very heartening. Just keep in mind to explain the GPA and give it your best shot. And don't forget to join us next week, because we're going to be talking about putting together the rest of your application for Stanford, because it's not just about the stats that they're looking at. They're looking at your entire application holistically, and that includes your essays, recommendation letters, and all of that. Okay, so join us next week. I have 9 years of experience. Which program is suitable for me? That's a good question. Now, I indicated that the GSB has several programs, right? So the regular 2-year full-time program. There's also the 1-year MSX program, which is tailored more towards folks that have, I would say, anywhere between 6 years to 12 years of work experience. I don't know what that range is for sure. You'll have to look it up on their website. They'll give you a better indication of the average years of work experience. But I think with 9 years of work experience, you would sound to me as better suited for the MSX program. So I would certainly take a closer look at that program. Okay. Another question: what makes Stanford stand out for technology applicants or people who are interested in the technology sector? Good question. I think of course, the biggest draw is there are two big things I can think of. One is, of course, is location, being in the hub of Silicon Valley, being so close to the big technology firms in the area gives you a lot of access. Not just to, arranging a field visit to, for example, the Google offices, but also connecting with alums or folks at that company. So that's number one. You also, when you have networking events, you find that a lot of alums in the area do tend to attend as well. So you get, just incredible access just because of that proximity. The second point is, of course, the connection that you have with the rest of the Stanford University. Of course, we know that Stanford, the computer science program is incredible, one of the best in the country. So, you have access to taking joint classes with the undergrad computer science majors. You have access to perhaps some networking events as well. So I think those 2 points are, some of the biggest factors for why Stanford is very, very popular with people interested in the technology sector. Okay, next question. Is it possible to get into the GSB with a 690 score and 7 to 8 years experience? Yes, and I think that this question probably, and I've touched on it previously through the answering the other questions. So the 690 score, it falls within the range. I mean, if you look at the range of scores, I think it was between 600 to 690. So, and then of course, years of experience, of course, is a little bit on the higher range of what they typically accept. But keep in mind that that still falls within the range. And I think the key to getting in with a profile like that is, of course, one, demonstrate that even with a 690 score, that you have the academic capability to it's a rigorous program academically. So show that if you can show that you are able to perform well in that kind of environment, that should alleviate any concerns they might have about the academics. And then, of course, the work experience, the key is to explain why you need an MBA, why you want to pivot, and how an MBA is going to help you get to your future career goals. Okay. Next question. What other aspects of the GSB program set it apart from others? Does it have a secret sauce? That's a good question. And I would say that if you look at the top 7 to 10 business schools in the US, and let's say you're a fly on the wall in their classes, you're going to find more similarities than differences. At the end of the day, you're going to find a lot of very smart classmates, very motivated, very accomplished in their careers, very passionate. So you're going to find a lot of those similarities. You're going to find a lot of collaboration, a lot of teamwork in the study groups. And a lot of natural leaders, as well as folks who are just honing their craft at leading. Leadership doesn't always come naturally, and you don't have to be a quote unquote natural leader, but you need to want to be better at influencing people and leading. I think that at the end of the day, why the GSB program is so popular, what sets it apart is really the people. I will tell you that when I was applying to business schools, I got into a few other top business schools as well, Wharton and Booth, and I went to every single one of the welcome events and met my future classmates and talked to people there. So there is no right or wrong. I think I would have been very happy at Booth, very happy at Wharton as well. I just felt more at home with the GSB, and I ultimately it's about finding the right fit for you. There are certainly people who are not super happy at the GSB, right? I mean, it's a small program. If you're someone who likes a huge program, you might be happier at another school. If you are somebody who doesn't like that flexibility in tailoring your own curriculum, you want to have kind of that more structured program, then the GSB may not be right for you. So I think it really depends on what you personally are looking for, what you think is the right fit for you. So I would just leave it at that. So I would advise you to talk to as many alums as you can, or current students, attend their information sessions, and really get a feel for what will work for you and where you're going to be most happy. All right. Okay, so next question. I have 2.5 years of experience in 3 different fields and also 1 year gap in between. 700 Gmat. Is there any chance to get into the Gsb? So very similar to some of the other questions that I answered just now. So I'm going to skip that and move on to the next question. Any baseline that you could suggest that one should maintain, like in the Gmat, GPA, work experience, anything else that you suggest? So the average profile of the incoming class, that table that I showed you with all the stats, I think that is the average or the typical profile of someone coming into the Gsb. And it would be nice, of course, if you can hit as much of the average numbers that they're looking at. For example, the Gmat, right, as close as you can get to 730 would be fantastic. GPA as well, work experience as well. But there is, it doesn't mean that if you hit the typical profile that they're looking for, that your chances would that you would get in. So I think of course, the closer you get to the typical profile, hopefully the better your chances. Certainly, I think if you excel, let's say you have a higher Gmat score than the average, then certainly that would be a plus point. If you have a slightly lower Gmat score, that would be a slight handicap. But overall, they would look at your application holistically. They will look at not just length of work experience, but also quality of the work experience as well. So hopefully that gives everybody kind of there is no perfect profile, and I will tell you that in 8 years of working with clients, I have seen every type of profile be successful at the Gsb. So the less than perfect profile, everybody has blemishes in their profile. Everybody has a shot, but certainly not everybody will get it. So that's unfortunately reality. Next question. What is your, I think I saw something. What is your advice for deferred MBA programs? Also, how to stand out in the deferred MBA program? That's a great question. We actually have a separate, we run separate webinars on deferred MBA programs from time to time. And typically the application deadline for the deferred MBAs are close to the end of the year to early in the year, like February, March timeframe. So I would keep an eye out for those webinars coming up, and the advice and tips you're going to get will be very specific to the deferred program at that time. Is there more chance if you are the only candidate from your country or entire region? Certainly, I think if you are qualified, if you meet everything, if you hit everything that they're looking for, and you're the only candidate from your country or region, certainly you would. They would look at your file very closely. I will tell you that chances are very low that you're the only candidate from your country or the entire region, and even from countries where you feel like, wow, there's some, we're a small country. I mean, when I was applying from Singapore, we were pretty small, and we still are a pretty small country. At that time, I think there was 3 million in population, and I thought to myself, well, how many people could be applying at the same time? And then I found out later, of course, several of my friends in Singapore were also applying at the same time, right? So don't underestimate that there are a lot of very smart and talented and ambitious people, even from coming from small countries. Okay, question. How much weight is given to the GPA? Is there an unofficial cutoff? So That's a great question. We do not know the algorithm that they use. We do not know how much weight they assign to the Gmat, to the GPA, to work experience, and on all of that. But the only thing that we know is they evaluate everything holistically. So the GPA and the Gmat are also evaluated holistically together. I don't know what the cutoff is, but certainly if there is a cutoff, they should indicate that on their website. So take a look. Okay, let's see. What other questions do we have that are slightly different from what I've answered so far? What are the prospects for defense personnel from other countries? So if you have been working in the military, for instance, of your country, and you feel that an MBA is really going to help accelerate your career, either back in the defense sector or pivoting to another sector, certainly there is no prejudice against any industry or any sector. What they ask is that you articulate and explain to them what is it that you're looking to do with your career. What impact are you hoping to achieve long-term in your career with an MBA? How is an MBA going to help you? What are the specific skills, knowledge that you are seeking at the GSB? So I think the important thing is to be sure to articulate that. There is an essay, an essay 2, why Stanford, that gives you the opportunity to really articulate that. So we'll cover that in our next webinar next Wednesday. So be sure to join us at that time, okay? Next question, does wanting to start a post-MBA play out negatively for a candidate, considering it affects the school's post-MBA employment stats? Good question. And I don't think that's what they are worried about when they are evaluating your career goals. As you saw, 18% of the class of 2020 started their own venture. So because the GSB has that tradition of always having a segment of people starting their own venture and so on, that's already built in to the numbers, because you are comparing the numbers historically year over year, and it's not like they had nobody starting businesses the year before and all of a sudden they have a lot of people. So historically, the GSB and other schools as well have always had a certain number of people starting their own companies and making a very different income than people going into banking or consulting. So I think the numbers are already built in. It should not affect the way that they evaluate your application. I would say their biggest concern would be how it fits into your story, how it fits into your vision for your career future, and how the GSB can help you. Okay, we have another question. How does GSB generally identify future leaders? Is the past leadership experience the only criterion? If not, what do they look for in potential leaders? That's a great question. I think that they are always looking for past experiences in leadership, as well as trying to think about what your future experiences in leadership might be. And I think that's always the tough part. And I think the essay of what matters most to you really allows them a glimpse into who you are and what has motivated you in the past, or what shapes you, what influences you. I always think about, and we'll cover it more in next week's webinar about the essays, but I always think about leadership as it's not. I don't know if you've heard of this phrase. It's what really matters is not that you fail, because everybody is going to fail at some point. But what matters is how you pick yourself up and keep going. And actually, I think that's from a famous movie called Rocky Balboa or something like that. My husband would know. But anyways, so it's and I think that by asking you to write reflective essays, they really are trying to get a sense for, how have you responded in the past when you failed or when you had to go through challenges. And hopefully, I think, you get a sense for how people are going to respond in the future based on how they have responded in the past in terms of how they've led teams, how they've overcome challenges and adversity. So anyways, I don't want to give away too much from next week's presentation. So join us and we'll pontificate even more next week, okay? Let's see, let's take another question. Hi, Debbie, could you please shed some light on the availability of scholarships in internal scholarship options at the GSB? So that's a good question. And I do believe that there are, they do try to put information about financial aid on their website. There are a lot of internal scholarships. I don't think they post everything. Typically what happens when you get accepted into the school, you also get a lot of information from the financial aid office, letting you know what scholarships you're eligible for and how to apply. A lot of times they will just automatically consider you for a lot of these financial aid scholarships as well. I do remember when I was at the GSB, there was an internal survey that they did, and they found that as many as 75% of the class received some sort of financial aid. And financial aid typically comes in a package comprising of grants, which is, or scholarships, so no strings attached, free money, loans, which is very, very common. So, going into the top US business schools, you can expect some component of your aid package to come in the form of loans, and also primarily these are the two. I don't think there's a lot of student jobs, and I know that's common for undergrad, but I don't think that's common for business school. So primarily grants or scholarships and loans. So almost 75% of my class had financial aid in some form or another. Okay, so let's jump to, let's say, a question that we haven't touched on: how to prove your extracurricular activities. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Feel free to clarify in the comments, but in the meantime, let's take a couple more questions. I think we have time for that. I have a 4-month gap in my work experience. Will that deter my chances in getting accepted to the GSB? How best to explain that in the application? Good question. Typically for gaps 3 months and above, we do try to explain in the optional essay. And really, we want to just articulate what you were doing during that time. If it was an unemployment gap, really not a big issue. You can explain that, hey, I was, really taking the time to make sure that I find the right fit for me. If you were traveling, spending time with family, or even taking care of family, really, it's not an issue at all. Just make sure that you explain that in the optional essay. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Any additional advantages for an entrepreneur having 760 Gmat but low GPA, however, great entrepreneurship experience? So very similar to a previous question that I answered about the low GPA. I think you should be fine, but again, the trick is to try to make sure to alleviate any concerns that may have, explain the low GPA if there were any circumstances that affected it. Okay. Okay, so does internships taken during undergrad count towards the good mix of experience along with full-time work experience post-undergrad? Good question. Now, typically, a lot of people have, they do a lot of undergrad internships that contribute to them figuring out what they want to do full-time or getting that full-time job. So oftentimes there is some overlap between, so let's say you were a banking intern and then post-college, you join an investment bank, right? So there's going to be some overlap in what you do in your internship in banking and your full-time job in banking. So typically, yes, they would, they would look at it, but it's not going to be a huge factor because they're going to take a look at your more recent experiences and achievements. Okay. Do we want to tailor application essays to each school's culture and well-known attributes? Yes, certainly. Join us next week. We're going to talk all about how you tailor your essays to each school's culture and what they're looking for. Okay. So I think we have time for maybe one last question. So let's see. Hello, Debbie. If someone doesn't want to change their industry post-MBA but are looking to hone softer parts of their skills, is that considered a good enough reason to justify doing an MBA from the GSB? I think that's a really good question. I think that you do have to think about what the returns are for your investment, the ROI. And I would say, think about what is the job that you're going into post-MBA. So are you going back to the same job? Are you going back to the same or similar salary? If so, what would be the advantage of taking 2 years off and investing, a big chunk of your time and money in the MBA, right? So ideally, you want to do the MBA to accelerate your career trajectory. And most people are able to, even if they go back to the same industry, they're coming back at a higher level, at a post-MBA level, and at a higher salary. So I would take that into consideration to decide if it's strong enough reason for you. Of course, I see you noted there, you want to build a global network, hone leadership skills. Absolutely, you're going to get that. But you're also going to get that by staying in the industry as well for 2 years. You're going to meet more people and start leading projects and leading teams. So you will naturally already get that. So just looking at the hard numbers, the math of is it worth your while to invest the tuition, the opportunity cost, lost salary, and everything in the 2 years of pursuing an MBA, and what is the job you're going to get post-MBA? So I think that's the question that you want to run some numbers on and make sure that the numbers work out for you. Okay, so ending on that note, I want to also let you know that if you want to go more in depth into your profile, if you have more tailored or specific questions about your situation, please feel free to sign up for a free consultation with us. The link is on the slide I have here up, free consultation on our website, and you can choose exactly which consultant you want to talk with depending on your background and what questions you have. And you can upload your background information, your resume, and we will review that ahead of time so that all the questions that you have will be tailored specifically for you and your profile and resume. Okay, so please take advantage of that free 30-minute consultation from us. For the next week's session, we will do a deep dive into the essays and how do you put together a strong application for the GSB. So join us next week, please. It was great that everyone was able to join. I really appreciate your taking time from your morning, evening, wherever you are. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll continue this conversation next Wednesday. Take care, everybody.